In 1981, two researchers carried a television screen into a large East Coast prison and played a videotape to men convicted of violent assault. The tape was simple. Ordinary people, filmed without their knowledge, walking down a New York City sidewalk in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America. The researchers asked one question: who would you pick? The men didn't hesitate. A few seconds of footage each, that was all they needed. And here's the part that kept psychologists up at night. They picked the same people. Different men, different cell blocks, different crimes, same targets. It wasn't size. Some of the chosen were tall men. It wasn't age alone or gender, or how expensive their clothes looked. It was the walk, the length of a stride, the way a foot landed, the way arms moved or didn't. Something in the body was broadcasting a signal, and the men behind that screen could read it fluently. The people on that tape had no idea they'd been measured. They just walked to work, the way they walked every day of their lives. Selected. In seconds. By strangers reading a language they didn't know they were speaking. Now hold that image, because this video isn't about street crime. The predators you'll actually meet in your life don't wait on sidewalks. They sit across from you at dinner. They work 2 desks away. They text you good morning, and they run the exact same scan. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Has it happened more than once? The friend who only calls when they need something. The partner who somehow made you feel guilty for having feelings. The boss who piled their work onto you, and only you. Different people, different years, same ending. At some point, everyone in this position asks the same question, usually at 2 in the morning. What is wrong with me? Why do I keep attracting this? And the answers you've been given are useless. Bad luck, bad taste, too nice for your own good. Here's what's actually true, and it changes everything about how you protect yourself. You're not attracting them. You are being selected by them. Those are 2 completely different crimes. Attraction is an accident. Selection is a process. A manipulator doesn't stumble into your life the way rain lands on a roof. They audition people quietly, systematically. The charm, the intensity, the way it all felt faded. That wasn't chemistry. That was casting. If you've ever wondered why it's always you, stay until the end, because I'm going to show you the 5 tests they run before they choose. And by the 5th one, you'll be able to see it happening in real time. This is Crimpathy, where we study the side of human nature nobody wants to admit exists. If that's the kind of truth you came for, subscribe. This one gets darker before it gets useful. For years, people who'd been manipulated described the same eerie feeling. He knew exactly which buttons to press. She found my weak spot on the 2nd day. It sounds like paranoia. It isn't. It's measurable. In 2013, researchers at Brock University ran a colder version of the prison study. They showed inmates short clips of strangers walking and asked them to judge how vulnerable each person was. Some of those strangers had been victimized before. Most inmates guessed at random, but one group didn't guess. The men who scored high on psychopathy, specifically the cold, callous traits, picked out the previous victims with unsettling accuracy. And when researchers asked them how they knew, the answer came back plain: the walk. Read that again. The higher the psychopathy, the better the eye. Cruelty and perception rising on the same curve. This is the fact that rewrites everything you've been told about manipulation. We talk about manipulators like they're charming gamblers who get lucky with the wrong people. They are not gambling. They are assessing. Vulnerability has a body language, and the people most willing to exploit it are the ones who read it best. You've heard the phrase wolf in sheep's clothing your whole life. Everyone worries about the disguise. Nobody asks the better question. How does the wolf decide which sheep? So let's do the thing nobody wants to do. Let's stand behind their eyes for a few minutes and watch you walk in. Not because you did anything wrong, because you deserve to see what they see. You enter the room. You laugh at a joke that wasn't funny. Not because you're fake, but because you didn't want the man who told it to feel small. Noted. Someone interrupts you mid-sentence. You let it go. You always let it go. Noted. A stranger tells you a sad story, and your whole face changes. You lean in. You feel it. Noted, underlined, circled in red. None of this makes you weak. Every single thing on that list is decency. But watch what just happened. In 4 minutes of small talk, you handed over a complete profile. How much discomfort you'll swallow to keep a room comfortable. How quickly your empathy overrides your suspicion. How cheap it is to make you feel responsible. To everyone else in that room, you were just being kind. To one person in that room, you were auditioning, and you should know how fast this happens. Con artists interviewed in prison studies describe sizing up a mark before the first handshake ends. 4 seconds. The time it takes you to say nice to meet you. Someone across the table has already finished the first draft of your file. And here's what you need to understand about what comes next. They never start with something big. No red flags, no drama, nothing you could point to. They start with a test so small you'll never register it as one. It begins with a favor. Tiny, almost sweet. Can you watch my bag for a second? Can you cover for me? Just this once? You're so good at this. Could you take a quick look at mine? Psychologists have known the mechanics since 1966, when 2 Stanford researchers proved something disturbing about human compliance. People who agreed to a trivial request became dramatically more likely to agree to an enormous one weeks later. They called it foot in the door. Manipulators never read the study. They didn't need to. It lives in their hands the way water lives in a fish's gills. But the favor itself is not the test. Listen carefully, because almost nobody sees this part. The test is what happens after. Did you say yes instantly, without checking whether it cost you anything? Faster is worse. An instant yes means the machinery inside you that weighs your own needs never even switched on. Did you look mildly uncomfortable but do it anyway? Even better. Now they know you'll override your own discomfort to avoid disappointing a stranger. Did they thank you too much, too warmly? And did that warmth feel like a small paycheck? Now they know your currency. 1 coffee. 1 borrowed 20. 1 quick, I'll just vent to you for a minute. Cheap experiments. Priceless data. And if you passed, if you were easy, warm, and fast, the audition moves to round 2. This one has teeth. The second test is a small act of vandalism. Not against you, against a rule. They show up 20 minutes late, no apology, and watch your face. They make a joke at your expense in front of others. Soft enough to deny, sharp enough to sting, and watch your face. They tell your private story at dinner, the one you ask them to keep, and watch your face. The offense is never the point. The offense is a probe. What they're measuring is the price of crossing you. And most kind people quote a price of 0. You smile. You say it's fine. You tell yourself it would be petty to make a thing of it. You are so practiced at being reasonable that you negotiate against yourself before they've said a word. Now here's the mechanism. And once you see it, you'll see it everywhere. Every boundary you don't defend becomes the new starting line, not the exception, the baseline. Next time, the question isn't whether the line moves, only how far. 20 minutes late becomes an hour. The joke becomes a habit. The secret becomes public property. And notice the genius of the pacing. Each individual push is too small to fight without feeling dramatic. That's not sloppiness. That's engineering. You were never given a moment worth going to war over. Just 300 moments almost worth it. And if you finally do object, months later, you'll hear the sentence that was designed for exactly this moment. You never had a problem with it before. They're right. You didn't. That was the trap. The line has moved so many times that defending it now feels like an attack even to you. But moving your lines is only stage 2. The real prize sits deeper. They need the steering wheel. And in a good person, the steering wheel is always the same thing. Guilt, not fear. Fear makes people run. Guilt makes them stay and try harder. So the third test measures how much of it you carry and how little it takes to switch on. The probes are almost invisible. A sigh followed by silence until you ask what's wrong. Must be nice, said lightly, about something you earned. I guess I just care about this more than you do, after everything I've done for you. And there's a bookkeeping version too. Every favor they've ever done you gets logged, itemized, and quoted back with interest. Every favor you've done them evaporates on contact. You could carry their life on your back for a year, and the ledger would still show you in debt. Each probe is a knock on the same door, and the manipulator is listening for one specific sound. Do you apologize when you haven't done anything wrong? Say sorry to a person like this once, for resting, for having a boundary, for simply existing. And you have told them the most valuable thing they will ever learn about you. Your guilt doesn't require guilt. It's a bell that can be rung from the outside, anytime they want something. Watch how the good ones fall here. The kindest people alive treat someone else's disappointment as a to-do list. A friend goes quiet, and you review a week of your own behavior, hunting for your crime. Nobody accused you of anything. The prosecution never spoke, and you volunteered for the defense. Must be nice, they say. and instead of saying yes, it is, you start explaining why you deserve your own life. That reflex apology as a first language is the sound they were listening for. 3 tests in, and you're probably assuming what everyone assumes, that these tests are hunting for damage, cracks, weakness. It's the exact opposite. And this is where the whole thing turns. Everything you've been told about targets is backwards. Broken people pick fights. Suspicious people ask questions. Selfish people say no. From a predator's point of view, damaged people are terrible investments. Unpredictable, defensive, already guarded. Now look at what the 5 tests actually screen for. Say the list out loud. Someone who helps without weighing the cost. Someone who absorbs disrespect to protect a room's comfort. Someone whose guilt can be operated from the outside. Someone who explains instead of accusing. Someone who hands strangers the benefit of the doubt on credit. That is not a list of flaws. That is a character reference. Empathy, conscience, loyalty, patience. The exact qualities every eulogy praises are the exact qualities that light you up on their screen like a window at night. They don't hunt the weak, they hunt the good. Sit with how dark that is. The thing that made you a target was never your damage, it was your decency. Walking around unguarded. Your conscience has a signature, and a certain kind of person reads it from across a room, the same way 53 men behind a prison screen read a stranger's stride in seconds. And this answers the 2 in the morning question. Why always you? Because you keep being good in public, at full volume for free. Now, there is a difference between being good and being safe. The people who never learn that difference get walked into the final 2 tests. These are the ones that leave marks. Test 4 is quiet. It's a wedge. It starts as flattery with a blade inside. You're not like your friends. They don't really get you, do they? Your family is so hard on you. I feel like I'm the only one who sees what you actually deal with. Each sentence sands a millimeter off every other relationship you have. Nothing you'd fight about. Nothing you could even quote later. But run the tape forward a year and look around. The friends drifted. The family calls got shorter. Somehow, every road in your life now runs through one person. That was the isolation test. And its purpose is purely logistical. Witnesses are a problem. People who love you are cameras pointed at the manipulator's behavior. Fewer cameras, freer hands. And once the cameras are gone, the 5th test begins. The last one. The one that decides whether they own the ground you stand on. They rewrite what happened. You bring up the cruel thing they said, calmly, reasonably. And within 90 seconds, somehow, you are the one apologizing. They deny it happened. They attack you for bringing it up. They explain, wounded, that they are the real victim here, of your sensitivity, your memory, your tone. Researchers who study abuse have a name for that exact sequence. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender, DARVO. It earned an acronym because it repeats that reliably, across thousands of cases, almost word for word. Do it enough times and something in you starts to flinch. You catch yourself recording the argument in your head, building a case file, just to prove to yourself it happened. Then you feel crazy for needing proof. Then you feel guilty for feeling crazy. And the cost spreads quietly through everything. You sleep worse. You draft text messages 3 times before sending them. You hear your own laugh at a party. And notice it's the careful version. Friends say you seem different, and you defend the very person who made you different. The cruelest part? Through all of it, you keep trying harder, because that's what good people do. When something's failing, they assume the missing effort must be theirs. Here's the sentence somebody watching this needs to hear word for word. That exhaustion is not a malfunction. It's a diploma. You didn't fail as a person. You passed every test they ran, 1 through 5, with honors. You were never broken. You were qualified. So what's the way out? Because you already know the popular answer, and you already know it's wrong. Trust no one. Go cold. Armor up until nothing gets in. That isn't protection. That's demolition. Burn down your warmth to spite the wolves, and the wolves still win. They've just outsourced the job to you. The real answer comes from watching how these people actually operate. Every test they run is an accounting question. How much does this person cost? Free empathy. Free forgiveness. Free second chances. You were selected because somewhere along the way, your best qualities ended up on a table by the street with a sign that said, "Take one." So the move is not to stop being good. The move is to stop being free. Make your trust expensive. Expensive doesn't mean cruel. A locked door isn't an insult to honest guests. It's just a door that opens on purpose for people who knocked and waited and earned it. Your empathy gets a waiting period. Your loyalty gets terms. Your benefit of the doubt becomes a loan with a credit check, not a gift with no receipt. Now watch what this does to the predator's math. Their whole operation runs on cheap access and fast returns. They budget for easy. The moment you cost effort, real effort, sustained for months, you stop being a target and start being a bad investment. And they don't rage against the price. Rage would expose them. They just quietly move down the street. That's the beautiful, brutal part. Good people pay your price gladly. Only thieves resent the lock. So here's how you fail their audition on purpose. 5 tests, 5 counter moves. Small, quiet, devastating. Test 1 was the small ask. Counter it with a pause. Before any yes, 3 seconds and 1 silent question. Would this person do this for me? You're not refusing kindness. You're switching on the machinery that weighs it. People who read people can feel that machinery running, and it reads as expensive. Test 2 was the boundary push. Counter it once, calmly out loud. That doesn't work for me. No anger, no essay, no apology orbiting the sentence. A boundary stated without heat terrifies a manipulator because it means the line has a guard who doesn't need to be furious to hold it. Test 3 was the guilt probe. Counter it by returning what isn't yours. Say it with me. I understand you're upset, and that's not mine to fix. Feel how strange. That sentence tastes in your mouth. That strangeness is the sound of a bell coming off the wall. Test 4 was the wedge. Counter it with witnesses. Keep your people close on purpose. The old friend, the blunt sister, the ones who knew you before. Isolation is the only soil this thing grows in. Every strong bond outside the relationship is a camera they cannot unplug. And test 5 was the rewrite. Counter it with a record. When reality starts feeling negotiable, write things down the day they happen. Not for a court. For you. The first time you reread your own page and realize you were right all along, that's the day the fog stops working on you. Now look at the list again. A pause, a sentence, a returned feeling, a phone call, a notebook. That's it. That's the whole armor. 5 small habits that make you cost more than you pay. No coldness required. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to stop auditioning. Remember the tape? 53 men behind a screen. Reading strangers in seconds. Not their clothes. Not their size. Their walk. The body confessing things the mouth never said. But there's a detail from that research nobody quotes. Some people on that sidewalk were never picked. Not once. By anyone. And they weren't the biggest or the youngest or the strongest. Their steps simply agreed with each other. Weight-centered, pace chosen, not apologized for. A body moving like it had somewhere to be. And a right to get there. The signal can change. That's the entire point of everything you just learned. It was never a sentence. It was a setting. So keep your soft heart. Keep the empathy. That feels other people's weather from across the room. Keep every part of you that leans in. When someone is hurting, the world is starving for exactly that. Just take it off the free table. Because the scan never stops running. Somewhere ahead of you, in an office, a coffee shop, a family gathering, someone is going to read you in 4 seconds flat. The way they read everyone who walks in. Let them read this. Warm eyes, open hands, and not one door left unlocked out of habit. Kind and expensive. It's the only combination they have no test for. Somewhere in these 5 tests, you recognized someone. Maybe someone you escaped. Maybe someone still in your life. Tell me in the comments which test you've lived through. 1 through 5. Because the person scrolling past your comment might be standing inside test 4 right now without knowing it. If this found you at the right time, send it to the friend you thought of during the wedge. And subscribe to Psychopathy. We study the parts of human nature everyone else politely looks away from. You were never too kind. You were kind for free, in front of the wrong audience. Charge admission.